Hiya, and welcome to Share Your Grin. We are back, and oh my god, am I late to the party? I'm fully aware, I feel bad about it. This show is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about the fabled ReZero, a series that I've been hearing tons and tons about for such a long time, specifically Rem, and how just God in heaven people love her to bits. And at first I was like, cute maid lady, sure, ooh, all that. I can't even, now that I've watched the show, I can't even be like pretend to be my old self who didn't get it, okay? But by the way, just really quick off the top, because I'm not sure what I'm going to title this, I'm happy to report we're going to get another season, a third season of ReZero. I do believe it's probably slated to come out pretty soon here, maybe next year or late next year. Haven't looked into that. Probably not going to name this video that. At a core level, the series has been out for a long time, but I do, and I've only watched season 1. We're going to be talking about season 1 today, and they're I want to talk to you guys about it. Frankly, I've been wanting to talk to you guys about it for a long time because it is. I get it. Holy shit! It doesn't really fit anywhere either. It's like its own weird, kind of like somewhat edgy, but also kind of like takes itself seriously in a weird way. But yet not to the point in which it becomes annoying, which some anime very much do, I think. But anyways, today, ladies and gentlemen, I just really want to talk to you about ReZero and how absolutely holy shit, for me at least, it lived up to the hype, but not at the start. So man, when I first started watching the show, I was like, okay, it's isekai stuff, right? We just boom, gets teleported. He's kind of like a nothing character. He's just a guy who's been living his life and kind of shitting away some of it, but just kind of going through his paces, doing him, and then bang, gets teleported to a planet. Has a slew of expectations that get crushed and leveled immediately, and then the baseline aspect of the series gets unraveled to the viewers, which is essentially ReZero is this premise. Essentially, the guy gets pulled into a world. He's thinking, oh, it's gonna be all great. I'm gonna get a main love of my life. It's gonna be, people are gonna love me. I'm gonna get powers. I'm the hero. And then he gets killed brutally. I think. No, not I think. He definitely gets killed brutally. And then gets pulled back into the very single second that he got pulled into the world. Kind of like Groundhog's Day. So this is like an isekai with a Groundhog's Day theme to it, where you just live, you die, and then it repeats. That's a great movie. Anyways, now, one thing that you are going to notice really that's is that, oh boy, is this not a power fantasy isekai, which is needless to say, like I can count one other one that's like that. So it's a very sparse environment, right? But quickly you find out that it's very much reminds me in some kind of way of one of my favorite animes of all time called Blood Blockade Battlefront, where the main character is iconically weak as shit. Like, he's just a lens that has some value but is not like combat efficient in any way, but he does, like, it's because they are powerless that makes them so endearing. And because they're willing to like look down death or pain or suffering, just to keep going, just to keep fighting despite being powerless. That's what makes it so, just what makes these characters so charming, and that's what I love about them so much, as well as, and this show doesn't do the best job at it. It does, at least Blood Blockade Battlefront, I think the main thing it does well is this, but it's to showcase the other people in their massive glory, like their just incredibleness. This one kind of has moments where like you're like, oh wow, that character is significantly stronger than I thought. Golly. And oh, look at this. That really popped off in a bigger way than I expected. Jeez Louise. And things kind of bulldoze in that way. Kind of also trying to sell you guys this show as well as talk to people. We'll get to the point where we're just talking to you who've probably seen it. And I'm going to pull you back into the weeds of experience, hopefully. At least that's my plan. But as the show unravels, you find out that the character is kind of utterly powerless. And his only thing to leverage is the fact that he has excess information. So each time he does something, of course, he has the knowledge of it being done, and how it can kind of trickle out in effect, and where people will be based on where he was, and it kind of just goes together. But the funniest thing about the show is that the main character is incredibly flawed. I will say Blood Blockade Battlefront, the character is just kind of awesome and interesting and reasonable. Whereas, unfortunately, which honestly, fortunately, in ReZero, the main character is kind of flawed. Like, for instance, one of the things that I immediately thought is if I had this experience, like whatever it was, like if I could reset, essentially, like live, die, repeat, I would like ask for a flintlock pistol and just fucking crank a bullet in my head as soon as shit started going real dicey, just a quick death. But I'm also a psycho, so maybe that's why. It also reminds me of the show called Ajin, where they were similar thing, except they just regenerated, not reset the entire timeline. And I don't know if we're going to implement some sort of thing where like the more you reset, the more you die or like get corroded or something weird. I don't know. So maybe there's stuff to be unfolded in season 2, more about the specifics of this curse. Regardless, the main character hates pain and kind of strays away from that. So it becomes the other aspect of Groundhog's Day, which is somebody kind of cringily fucking up and progressing and like making mistakes, and you having to sit with that and watch him kind of like just trudge through this like sludge, and then finally he dies. And you're like, oh thank God, that was not our run. That was not our run, guy, come on, we can do this. And then the show of course like grows because he knows what to do. He's starting to improve because he's lived the days 6 times. But as you guys may be able to tell by the idea that this character is kind of powerless and also dies quite frequently, the show doesn't have any chill factor. It kind of just kills people a lot, and it's gory, and they get tortured, and it's pretty, but it's not like meant to be a horrific thing. It's like there's one scene that I think was a little bit excessive, which just shows Rem getting like fucking spat around like a top basically and like twisted apart. It's disgusting, but there's a kind of point to it. So that's my thing, is I hate when violence or whatever, or like horror or fear is the point and not the reason for an event or a moment of importance. You know what I mean? So like the person suffered because it's not just like, we need to show people something graphic because this is a horror anime. So here's the person getting beheaded for no reason. Okay. What? You know, I hate that. Not for me. One of the things that you get to experience, and I don't think many Groundhog's Day-like things dip into this, which is really good on the author's part, but it's what happens if you did keep all of your memories and you were put in situations where people tended to be more gracious, courteous, whatever, and you reset, maybe not one day, but like 2 days, or maybe it is just one day. But what happens with all the lovely memories that you form with the magical people around you? They go away. Well, at least for them, but not for the main character. So there's this really weird subliminal subtext of sadness throughout the entire story, kind of, which is, and I know it's going to be a thing that's going to be like permeated. Thank God we have Rem. Okay, I don't even know if they're going to fuck with that in season 2. I don't know. I hope not. Anyways, but the subtext is like he basically, this main character is like a bleeding heart. So he like falls in love with this girl named Amelia, which is the person that kind of finds him and helps him, and she saves him and all of these things, and he saves her. But he basically asks her on a date, spends time with her, like falls in love with her essentially, and then dies. And then the only way for him to move forward is to not go on that date, but that doesn't mean he doesn't love her any less, because he does. He already experienced the moments that made him fall in love. So you're stuck with this thing of like the main character being like understood, not really valued at times, and not knowing the drastic implications of what he's went through. Now, we're just gonna jump in. I'm kind of beating around the bush and trying to like tease out people who are considering watching it. Even though I'm sure they just clicked off because like, don't spoil it, me. Gah. And then they left. Let's jump head first in, okay? Let's go in waves. So the beginning part of the series, to me, I think is honestly its kind of worst part. And there's not a lot of bad here. So this is the only thing I can really parse out and find. But there was moments when I didn't find myself needing to watch the second episode. I was kind of like, okay, I wonder how he's going to pull this out of his ass. You know, and then it finally happens. But I think right around the part when he snaps out of his delusion and starts like getting after it, that's when it starts becoming fun. When he genuinely starts to take control and like push forward with Rem specifically. We're getting into that in a minute. But that's where it starts revving up and getting really, really good and like gets you hooked. Specifically the Rem part though, which is why people love Rem so much, which makes so much sense. Anyways, but the beginning part's a little slow. Amelia is an interesting character, but I don't think they do enough to really like have her blossom into a character where you're like, yes, he loves her. This makes sense. What the fuck about what? 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 Rem? What? Anyway, and you know what? I gotta talk to you about that. Okay, so the main character starts off as honestly kind of charming, like because he's very, very optimistic and like kind of to a point in which is kind of comical, like to the point where he's like, you're getting murdered, you're still trying to move forward. Like this dude would hit a wall that most people would just be eclipsed by, but still moves forward, which is interesting. But then in like the background of your mind, even if you're not like the person that would ever say it, you're kind of like, I mean, like you're not really helping as much as you think, and like you're kind of overly confident a little bit, and yeah, like you could just see like, wow, he's optimistic, and you could focus on his happy good traits, but you could also focus on the fact that you're like, man, you're kind of fucking shit up here, or you're kind of being egotistical, or you're kind of like superimposing your will onto other things, or like you're getting frustrated when you should know that they couldn't know, and it's all these things, and it's all basically permeates to a moment where like they really start layering it on to the point where, of course, everyone I think in anime land hates it at this point. I think this show came out right before it really started becoming a problem, but it's the like character going insane, zoom in at the face and fucking losing it kind of weirdness. But it shows the character kind of being a really shitty person right after he, or no, that's what he does. He makes a fool of himself in front of like the entire capital and in front of a bunch of nobles, and shits on knights, gets his ass fucking laid out, beaten to hell, all those things. And then it kind of still has like a tinge of arrogance to him. And then he kind of sits with that and he kind of angers with that. And you're kind of like sitting in this like, what's going on? All I know is that I'm starting to not like you, like in a big way. And that's something that this show does, I think, really, really well. Which is the show kind of makes the main character for like a solid 3 to 4 episodes fucking the worst. He's annoying. He's like completely missing the point. He's given up. It's frustrating because in a plot line that's all about like moving forward and grinding through the muck, he just kind of decides to say, fuck it, I'm sad. And you're just like, what? We're not making any ground here, baby. Come on, snap out of it or something. And this all, to me, again, I think this is the beauty of the show and in the execution of what it talks about. But there's the iconic, and I mean iconic, scene where finally, after him getting rickety wrecked, seeing his loved ones get just eviscerated, because he basically gets to a point, like a checkpoint, where he cannot make ground as he is, which I think hopefully at some point in the series he'll realize the mechanics of it and realize, okay, I've gotten to a new checkpoint. The baseline of what I should do is try to understand as much as I possibly can and to progress slowly down this list until I can. He doesn't realize that like, oh, because I am powerless, the only power that I can attain is information and timing. And it seems like he hasn't quite gotten that yet. But point being, bravo. The fact that like that's a challenge to not only like make your character annoying and like not like likable, only for the express purpose for you to absolutely have him destroy himself in a rightfully way. Like that's the thing, like as much as people are like, yeah, he's kind of being an asshole, like he's kind of missing the point, it's all understandable. Like the main character is like, yeah, what if you've seen like all of that, you would be fucking done. You'd be like just mentally eviscerated, which he is. But then he eventually realizes that like, oh no, inaction breeds still the same chaos. Like I can't, like that's not the answer here, is to just completely give up. And then there's the iconic scene where basically they have him, and by the way, before we get to this scene, let's talk about Rem and Ram, or whoever the one pink hair girl is. I realize they make her much more likable in season 2, I hear, but right now I could care less. Anyways, Rem and Ram, ladies and gentlemen, this is single-handedly the like heroine, whatever you want to call it, that dominated the internet, anime sphere, whatever, for such a long time, for like a crazy amount of time, and it still is. And the thing is, holy shit, when I first got into this series, that was my subtext of like, okay, Rem is the people love her to bits, Ram apparently is an asshole. 2 minutes in, I get why people don't love Ram, okay? Ram, not it, okay? But Rem, I'm like, okay, she's kind of an asshole. She's kind of like a rude, abrasive jerk kind of character. And then she fucking, like, people don't think about it. She fucking eviscerates the main guy for, like, no reason, I think. It's brutal. Anyways, at the beginning, but again, I think that's why these characters are just more valuable than other things, is because there are moments when you see them at not a great place. You see them at pretty shitty, pretty bloodthirsty, pretty rude, pretty fucked up, pretty not great. But you also see them in their nice sides, and like they're like you understand the sum whole of a person, so you know the negative implication of how bad they can be, but also how wonderful they can be. And it gives them a very wide depth of emotion and understanding of a thing, kind of making you feel more invested because you've seen more of them. You know, you get more as a human to kind of pace things out and judge things from. Anyways, so when I first seen Rem, I was kind of like, this is kind of like, I don't get it. She's kind of just seeming like a rude a-hole. Like, she's kind of quiet and cute, I guess. I don't get it. And then there's this scene where, like, finally the main character, and this is where, like, the series does a really good job about, like, the main character just grinding, just chewing through the despair, like, just, fuck it, go. And you as a viewer is like, yeah, go. Anyways, he saves Rem, and oh my god, dude, they get you with like a little tease of like, and we got you, bitch, they grab you. When they show like the most beautiful art, like a thing where like Rem is crying because she finally gets to like unburden herself with this pain that she's been holding on to for such a long time, and it's so sweet. Anyways, but the thing I was like, okay, I get it, she's fantastic. That is not it. If you happen to say, hey, this is a nice spot to stop in the anime when like the curtains are blowing and Rem is sitting there and the main character is like talking her up, making her feel great, and you stop because you're like, okay, this is a good stopping point, and then you like put it down and never pick it back up. This, you did not get to it, dude. You did not experience it yet. The like ferocity of the Rem appreciation, love squad, all that, okay? And you should, because by far, bar none, out of all of the waifu nonsense cute characters that exist, or like the heroine-esque characters that exist within all shows or anime that I've seen, most suck. Most are like one-dimensional as hell, very boring, and ultimately are not really there, really. They're kind of like, you can tell, oh, this is what the people think, sad loner loser, they would like this one, big titted, and anything else, and they're like good to go, right? So you can clearly tell. Rem there is not a single, even like completely, nothing comes close, dude. But let's dissect why that is. Why is Rem so beloved? And why is this moment that I'm trying to get you guys to go watch, if you put the anime down, so damn good? Well, I'm almost certain it's because of the main character and subsequently Rem. So first of all, the main character, this is the part where we're talking about him getting to like him being really unlikable at this moment, and he basically like rips off the curtain. So like, even if you were giving him the benefit of the doubt as a viewer of being like, well, he's kind of been through a lot, I kind of understand it, this is where the author kind of says, no, here is everything that you might have kind of been thinking every now and again, and let me add to it and show you everything. So then the main character just goes on like a tangent about how he wasted his life, about how he feels insufficient, how he has like these emotions that everyone can know but not really nail down, but we all know we fucking hate them, like feeling inadequate or feeling lesser or feeling like what you did wasn't good enough or what you have isn't enough. So he lays out all of those emotions, and then he caps it off with saying, I fucking hate myself. I don't think he says fucking, but he does say, I hate myself. And I think this is like one of the things which to me cemented it as like the main character being really, really likable, because there's something to me that I find crazy endearing about someone who puts it all out on the table and says, like exactly what they are feeling with like as much courage or relentless abandon as they possibly can. I find it to be a nice, freeing experience, and also to see someone who just says, you know what, I'm done, and like I'm done pretending, I'm done lying, I'm done with all of it. If you can't handle this, then run away. Here it all is. That's a nice kind of thing, although it could probably be a little bit overburdening for some. But also, the guy, like I'm kind of summarizing it, but in the moment where he's just self-immolating and just fucking ripping himself to shreds, he's telling himself all his inadequacies, all his frailty, the fact that he asks for everything and has no strength to hold it, the fact that he wants everything but doesn't deserve it at all because he wasted away his life, and all of these things, and then he still reaches, he still pines to grab it all, despite him having none. To me, was like the most connected I ever felt to a main protagonist character ever, which I think is the thing, is like the author found like, well, these are so many feelings of that people feel intrinsically with their whole everyday life. Let me show that, and let me show a character that kind of grabs that by the horns and says, yeah, these are all my fucking problems, and then it just throws them forward, you know? And then, after all of that, about a character just bleeding his heart dry, just telling everyone that he's kind of like worthless and that he hates himself and that his perception of himself is so terrible, and being fully understood with his shortcomings, there's Rem. There's little old Rem. And this is one of those scenes where when you see a person destroy themselves and emulate so many problems that so many people have, whether that's lack of self-esteem, lack of a feeling of wasted time, inadequacy, whatever it could be, Rem pops in and counters every single thing that he said with things that she loves about him, and then simultaneously also communicates all of the things that she loves to share, and that she appreciates him, that she thinks he's like her hero, just like the best. And then, and this is the thing where to me, like, it just wrecked me, where I was just like, I get it. Oh, fuck all these other bitches. I get it. But it's when she starts going through their life with one another, and just how painfully beautiful of a moment that was. The idea that, like, because again, it's one of those things where, like, the author found a way of, like, if someone says, I love you, oh my god, it's so nice, words. But that was, in a weird way, yes, just words, but Rem found a way to make it seem like, oh no. I 100% believe that you do care for this person above so much else, not only because of the things that they did, but because of the way you're describing the lovely future that you could have together and all of these things, man. Absolutely astonishing, and it just warms your heart to just no end, and it makes her like unequivocally best girl, like not a fucking. It just doesn't make any sense why Amelia is even in the field. Okay, what has happened? What? Why is Rem second place anyway? It doesn't make sense why fucking Amelia, you like Amelia at all. At all. You had one date, and what the fuck else happened? She got stabbed out of a consequence of your action like 4 times. And is it because she healed you? Okay, I guess that's kind of a nice additive thing. But that's the other thing I wanted to quickly mention, man. One of the things that just grinds my gears to no end, and maybe it's a fucked up mental thing, but in shows like this, the main character will like give his whole life to save another person. Just die, or like get brutally hurt and then somehow healed, or somehow save the day, or whatever. Just gives an abundance, just like an abundance of an abundance, and then the characters around them are kind of like, oh, you thanks, or something. It's like super passive. That's it, and you're just like, listen, I'm not expecting a lot. I'm just expecting anything, frankly, just because the guy like literally gave everything. He went through incredibly pain. He went through all this other stuff. And it just, to me, I lose it, because like the amount of effort given to make anyone think anything of you is 10,000 times X'd what he gave in this scenario. And this is one of the few animes that actually are reasonable about that. Like, the person like runs into a fucking fire's den to save your ass, who communicates with you and always seemingly communicates kindly, and all of these things, and like has moments that defined your relationship, and then they actually matter. Like the X result is love, or a feeling of the person needing them because they did so much for them, so now that they feel like they are almost in a weird way a part of them, or what they want to be in the future. So to me, that is such a beautifully executed thing in the show, which I think so many shows do a terrible job about. It's kind of like just like, oh, randomly, conveniently now they love you. Okay, what? What? Why also? What did you do that was different? The whole Rem and Ram thing are just the most heartwarming, lovely thing ever. Well, not Ram. Ram I don't really get yet. I think she becomes better as time progresses. And after that point, man, not only are you like, I love the main character now, because not only was he honest about all of his faults, and also now I love the shit of Rem because she accepted all of those faults. But they're both charging forward like head first to try to improve and get after it, which was awesome. And then this is where the main character starts, to me, leveraging the things that he does have in a really cool way, which is just essentially like fearlessness and like positioning in a slight way. So he's just like also connection. So like he has like Rem as like a utility power set, which is cool. Also, I love that like Rem. Like, and it's weird because I don't know when this, I guess that kind of makes sense how it happened, but Rem has like no chill about how much she fucking loves him. Like, I think there's a moment where like he like gets concussed away from this like giant whale thing, you know, the scene, and then he like lands in her breasts, and usually it'd be like, oh my god, you're disgusting, or how dare you, or blush. Instead, Rem is just like, I'm so happy right now, and it's just like, I guess that makes sense. You love the person deeply, and you thought of a whole life for them. If you were like, I can't believe this, it would be like, really? Have you thought about all of it? You mentioned kids. I feel like you're missing a lot of a lot of things here. But instead, Rem's like, no, I fully send it. All in, baby. All in. And it's just beautiful. Anyways, but yeah, after that point, everything is just cooking. I think this is where the series just truly unlocks and becomes like the determining factor of just fantastic. Like, it's the beloved series. But if you got to kind of grind through the establishing character narrative, and some of it's hard to get through because again, there's moments where the main character sucks, and then after this point, he tends to get after it in a cool way. Yeah, and then the whale scene, man, where they're just fucking... Also, what is that? Like, the main dude, that's also heartwarming. But they did, like, a quick story with, like, the swordsman and, like, his love and the fact that he beat her and took her thing, and then but also gave her power back, and it was a whole thing. That's beautiful. Then he makes a checkpoint, and then he's able to, like, parse things out. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but maybe we should, because we're running out of time here. But I'm sure I'm burning your patience drive quite high. Forgive me for that. But one of the things that stopped me from watching this series, I should have mentioned this at the beginning actually, was that I heard that it ended in a horrific way, in a way that would make it hard and that you needed to know what was going to happen because of how it ended. Like, so you'll need to have something you'll need to see season 2 because of the way that season 1 ended. And I was watching it and I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand. It all seems lovely. He fucking saves the day. He goes above and beyond. He's sitting there and he tells Amelia, fucking disgusting, that he loves her and that he means everything to her and blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. I'm sure she's confused because she's like, what have you really, well, how long have we known each other? But to him, it's forever. And not even, it's been like a month maybe. Anyway, he says, I love you. The like coloring, oh dude, the coloring and like the vibrance is always just so 10 out of 10 in these scenes. And then I was like, oh, this is just nice. And then it ends. Because did I mention I watched 24 episodes and not 12? Because later down the line, I think, they added the director's cut. And what that did, essentially, was, I think, add a little bit, but I think at a base level, it just merged 2 episodes into one, so it's like 40 episodes a piece. So instead of 24 episodes, it's 12. And I was like, oh, okay. But again, I never watched this until season 2 is out because I heard about that terrible shit. So then I was like, okay, well, where's this like sad scene or like this cliffhanger ending that I seen? And then I went to the director's cut, like I mentioned, the 12th episode. And I went to the very beginning. I'm like, oh, there's like a different, like a bonus clip here. Oh, fuck me. Dude, no. Thank God I got season 2 ready to binge, because Jesus Christ. It was rough. Anyways, yeah, you find out that like Rem, no one remembers Rem. So then everyone collectively is like, because everyone's already firmly in the why? Why do you like Amelia so much? And why do you not like the one, like significantly more, the person who, like, yeah, what? Makes no sense. You're silly. You're a silly person. I don't like it. So everyone's in that camp. I've met like one person that says Amelia, and I think they're just a troll, okay? And then you get maybe people who say Rem, and they just got problems, okay? Or Ram, sorry. Ram people got problems. Rem people, good relationship having people, although also a little fucked up because she's tried to kill you multiple times. I think people want Rem at the end of it, not the process of getting Rem. Anyways, apparently it works itself out to some extent, but here's the other big negative to the series, because almost all the things I mentioned were positive. Even like the main character shitty at points is a good thing. It makes you like him more, shockingly. So the only negatives that I got are that the beginning is quite slow. But it's not bad, it's just slow. So if you probably will drop off, I could see that. But the second part is the whole show is paced out in a very melodic, kind of slower sense, I guess. Like things don't happen quite fast, or at least they feel like there's these moments of a lull almost. It's not bad, but it does make the series feel longer in a way, and not in a bad way. But basically the only thing I can really say is that because I know Rem is like, that's gonna be figured out, I'm not like needing to go watch season 2. Because I'm kind of like, I'm still taking in the like season 1, you know, where some seasons are like season 2's out, season 1, here we go. This one I feel like I could wait a month and it'd be fine, you know? I mean, maybe that's just me though. All of my negatives could just be me. All of my positives could just be me. I'm just here to talk to you about it and see what you think as well. And maybe pull you back into reminiscing about a fantastic series, but I digress. That was one of the things I noticed, is that, like, again, I find myself not needing to jump into season 2 right now because maybe it's just because it's like, what do you call it, 24 episodes that you're kind of like, yeah, I could use a little bit of a break. I could go watch something else and then come back, especially now that I know I've got confirmation that the whole Ren thing somewhat resolves itself. But apparently in season 2, which is out right now and you probably have already watched it, it does dip into a lot more, like, my brother was telling me about it, but it, like, taking its time. And also it being a lot of like, go forward, go back, go forward, go back. And to me, again, the thing that the designers are fucking assholes about, like just shitty motherfuckers about it, is Rem was the saving grace of that. Like, that we got a checkpoint. We got a checkpoint, boys. You have no idea how hyped I was that we got a checkpoint when Rem, after like the love confession and like all that. So happy we got a checkpoint. And I was like, oh, cool. So now at least if all these other bitches, all these other fucking assholes die in a fire, I don't give a fuck. Because of how much they make you love Rem in comparison to everybody. In like 2 scenes, you're just like, everyone could burn alive. Okay? Except for Rem. And of course, that's the person that they're constantly like puppeting around, like, guess what, bitch? She's in the danger zone. What are you gonna do? And you're like, no. Yeah, that's basically it. It's just that I don't know what I was saying. I completely lost it. But yeah, a fantastic series, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very, very good series. Cannot wait to watch season 2. But like I said, I probably watch season 2 in a little bit. Probably give myself another, like, maybe watch something else and then come back to this. But totally understand why so many people love it to bits. Again, I think I've watched so much shows. Undoubtedly, they make Rem one of the most likable characters in any show that I've ever watched. Within like just honestly if I were to break it down, it's 2 scenes that really cement her as being like, holy shit, no, she's the best. I don't know anyone who has sold me a main like heroine character better. Also, she's a fucking badass. That's the other thing. Like, she's not like a pointless main second character. You know what I mean? She feels like she's powerful. She feels like she makes sense. She feels like she has moral values that she holds herself to, and that like we understand those things. And all of it just kind of seems to make a lot of sense. But again, can't wait to watch season 2, but also can't wait to have a season 3 potentially, because that is the subtext of the series, which I'm interested to see where it goes. And that's the other thing that I'm kind of hoping. I don't know if we'll ever get this, but I was kind of hoping that at some point, maybe not season 2, but hopefully season 3, that the main character may get some sort of power advantage or some power so that he has a little bit more to leverage and not just friendship, which kind of makes sense in this context because he's able to like know exactly what people want, do things for them ahead of time, be valuable, and then make people feel like they need to give back to him, and therefore they help him. And yeah, the show is very much like a Game of Thrones political, interesting fest of things, with most notable characters being Rem and the main character, and Amelia maybe at that. But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to talk your ear off about ReZero. And again, can't wait to watch season 2. Probably will give it a little bit of time to breathe. And then, of course, season 3. Maybe make a video talking about them, depending on how much you guys want to rant with me about anime. But alas, hopefully you do enjoy the rest of your day. By the by, we do stream on YouTube every weekday. And every weekend we stream on Twitch. And we stream almost every day except for Monday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Hopefully I can see you there. By the way, if you did support the video in any way, much love as always. Thank you kindly, and goodbye.